What's going on? It's your man KAHLEE. Welcome to another episode of the Status Escalate podcast, the music business show where every other week we dive into the minds and routines of artists, entrepreneurs, and craftsmen of various fields. I'm going to figure out how they do it, giving you the opportunity to implement some of their strategies into your own business, helping to plan and execute your next moves. Today, my guest is Cesar Zamudio, also known by the name Visual. A man of many hats like myself, Visual is a hip-hop artist, entrepreneur, and educator, amongst other things. We're going to get into his journey of betterment, talk about how action and fearlessness equals success, and of course, a dope Q&A session. Before we start, though, let me thank everyone for subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show. I wanted to read another review from my man Sojourn that he left on iTunes. Sojourn says, the information shared and discussed on the Status Escalate podcast is invaluable. The interviews are entertaining as well as informative and most of all, conversational and real. I highly recommend it to independent artisans of all mediums. Thanks a lot for that, my man. I really appreciate the love and support, dude. Good looking out. If you want to have your comment read on the show, please be sure to leave your name and I'll shout you out when I read it. Thanks again for the support, spreading the word, and sharing the episode. Now let's get into my talk with my dude, Visual.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
Peace. This is Cesar Visual Zamudio. I'm an artist, hip-hop artist, writer, producer, entrepreneur. Just all around, Renaissance man, trying to make my things happen out here, just trying to get it how I live it, basically.
So, what are some of the, maybe just mention some of your credentials as an artist and just all the things that some achievements that you're proud of as both an artist and entrepreneur in general.
So man, as an artist, I've traveled a lot, man. Did a lot of touring, man. I toured South France, toured the East Coast, toured the West Coast, toured the Midwest. Done that pretty much all by myself, pretty much as far as the structure and the setting up of the tour, just pretty much all through contacts. I've pretty much established myself throughout the years. And as far as an entrepreneur goes, it's something that I've always done, as well as, going hand in hand with being an artist and having to release my own music. I started a label basically so I could do that. And it was a lot of learning involved in it. I started doing things. I had no idea what I was doing as far as running a label goes. And then I started figuring things out, eventually got a distribution deal. And right now I have a company too, where we do consulting for artists called Hello Hip Hop. We do a lot of events, a lot of artist development and things of that nature.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know if this is the case with you, but with me, whatever group or organization I was a part of, if I wasn't the number one, I just tended to be the one who handled all the business sides of things, especially when you're an artist making music. There's always at least one person who kind of is more up on the business side of things, I should say, rather than just a creative, and it sounds like myself, that was kind of you and whatever you got doing.
Yes, sir. Definitely. That was always me, man, from the beginning. Like, if I was part of a group or a crew or whatever it was. And of course, like I said, in my solo endeavors, it was definitely me that was the guy that was handling the business, booking the shows, talking to promoters, hollering to producers and other artists to collaborate with. I was definitely always that guy.
Yeah, it's a tough burden to bear at times, but it's something that is going to help you for the rest of your career. Whereas other people, they get by just fine off of sheer talent, but they always kind of have to rely on somebody. So as an artist myself, I like to think I've become at least decent at everything that as an artist I need. So yeah, I try to get people to do a video for me, obviously, and I pay for videos and whatnot, or whatever the case is. But
right.
I know enough to be able to provide myself with something, so I don't have to just wait on somebody else. And I think that's such a valuable thing that, man, people love to just pawn off on people like us sometimes. So if for any listeners who is the guy who just likes to sit there and let everybody else do the work, I mean, that's fine. But I suggest you at least pay attention to the moves, because the time's going to come where you at least knowing what's going on is going to be important.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, man. You got to be that guy sometimes.
Even if you're at a point where you have a manager now and you've been a part of a organization where other people are taking the lead and you didn't pay any attention, now you have a manager or agent or whatever it is, because your music or your other art form, whatever, is blossoming, and you don't really know what to look for in a good or bad manager because you didn't really pay attention. So
right.
it's something as simple as that.
Right.
But then on the flip side, you're probably like me. You know, I have a manager, kind of a new thing to me. We're pretty in line. You know, he's very close to me even before that. So he knows the most of what I need and what I want, how I see my art going. But I'm a control freak. I would assume that you are somewhat as well. So that's kind of a downside to a certain extent.
Sir.
Because you got to delegate, but it's tough,
Most
man.
definitely, man.
Yeah, can't nobody do anything the way I want to do it like me. You know, that type of attitude. But yeah, it's a good problem to have, I think. So as far as like how I know you, I remember in the MySpace days coming across your profile. So that's how I remembered your name right away. And I don't know, sometime in the last month or two, came across, I don't know if it was a comment or if I came across one of your posts on Instagram or something, but I was happy to see it and happy to see that, you know, we're somewhat aligned in what we're doing. So I see the Money Mantra podcast, and as we talked a little bit, you have a second podcast coming. Could you kind of touch on that? Start with the hip hop podcast, and then we'll go into the Money Mantra.
Yeah, man. So as far as the Hello Hip Hop podcast, man, I haven't started it yet. It's something that I'm going to be starting really soon. And basically what I'm going to be doing with that, man, it's going to be something where I'm going to be calling people and just having a short conversation about hip hop, man, a real general conversation. It could be, you know, on a specific topic, specific artist or a current trend, some kind of issue, whatever it may be, man, but all hip hop related. And what I really want it to be is based around people that I haven't even met, like maybe somebody I met online. I've never had a conversation with them, and that's going to be my introduction to them, and their introduction to me is going to be a conversation about hip hop.
Nice.
So, that's the concept with that. And as far as Money Mantra goes, man, that's kind of more of a general idea. But the focus is really mental health and finances, which I believe are two things that a lot of us have problems with or have had or are currently having problems with. You know, I think especially as artists, entrepreneurs, and I mean, just really anybody in this world, man. Like, you know, it's kind of hard to hold down the stress levels and hold down, you know, things that we aren't sure if we're going through depression. We're not sure if we're dealing with anxiety. We're not sure of it sometimes, and a lot of times we don't get it, you know, diagnosed.
Yeah.
And I think money too, man. That's something that a lot of us, like, you know, there's no schooling for finances if you're in grammar school and high school. Yeah. Like, you have to specifically go to college for, you know, accounting or you know, economics and things of that nature to learn about finances. Our parents don't really teach us those things, you know, or at least for the most part. So those are two issues I've always had, you know, dealing with depression myself, having it around in my family, anxiety in my family, levels of stress that, you know, you just see in people. And even though they may not know they're dealing with it, you know they're dealing with it, or someone around them knows that, you know, there's some kind of situation going on where they're not happy with themselves and what they got going on around them. And same thing with money, man. It's always been an issue. And I'm on this path right now to try to you know, be great at both, man. Be great at dealing with my money and also receiving money, making sure that I have the right avenues to have more streams of revenue, and also to just be at peace with myself and everybody around me. Those are two of my paths, and that's what Money Mantra is about, is you know, talking to people about these topics and aligning it with my values and my ways of doing things, and learning myself while I'm teaching the listeners.
Yeah, that's very similar to what's going on here. And I feel you, man, because all those things go hand in hand. I mean, you got money problems, then comes stress. You start stressing, then you get depressed. You don't know what the difference between being depressed is a regular thing, in my opinion, you know what I mean? But being in depression is not the same thing, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And then it actually affects your health, you know? And we're in a time, like you said,
yes, sir.
There's definitely a lot of people probably in our generation that our family may not have taught us these things because they just go along with the way things already were. And because of the internet, because of so many different things, now people who didn't already know, we realize, like, yo, we can actually change problems. So everything's like a domino effect, you know, money problems equal this equals that. And it's like, if you fix some of these things, you're taking some of the dominoes out, and eventually, you know, you still got a lot of dominoes standing. So I think that's an important topic that, you know, by talking, let's say if a conversation was just about money, that can overflow into the rest of your life. And it ain't about just being rich, but, you know, I get it, man. You talk about it, you be about it. Actions speak louder than words. And, you know, I believe in manifestation. So I feel you. When is that podcast coming out?
So I'm hoping to plan. I'm planning and hoping to launch by January, man. So I'm really trying to get it done. It's something I'm kind of teaching myself, though. You know what I'm saying? I've never done a podcast before.
Right.
I have a few interviews that I have, piled up, and I'm just trying to figure out, production wise and getting everything into the system. And it's a process, man. You got to make sure you do the right thing once you get it out there. So yeah, just trying to figure all that out, but really planning to do it by January.
I think this something really cool about diving into the podcast world or whatever, specifically podcasts or some kind of series where people get to see you grow. You know what I mean? You don't want to just go in there blind and not know how to do anything, but I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the ins and outs of it, and you're going to tighten it up as you go. Even if you were a professional at it, jump into it, you're going to get better at whatever, you're doing. So I think as a fan of podcasts and an avid listener, I appreciate getting on to something that's fairly new, or even jumping in at like their 20th, 30th episode, and by their 100th episode, going back and be like, wow, what progress we've made together, even, especially when it comes to a show, like yours.
No doubt.
I think that's really dope. Have you been doing, I caught a video or two of what looked like you possibly be sitting on a panel, or I guess I kind of want to get into any public speaking or community speaking or conferences, or, the whole consulting and coaching thing, and, how you got to that and some of the things that you've done as far as that goes.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, as far as that goes, that's something I always wanted to do. I always told myself, like, man, I want to have a consulting firm, and I really want to be able to use my knowledge and my experience to help other artists out, and to, also make it a stream of revenue. I was, just interested in it. It was something that I knew I had value to give. People were constantly asking me, like, yo, how did you do this? How did you set up this tour, man? How did you get distribution? Like, what's the best way to send out an email to someone? If I want to purchase a beat or I want to get booked for an event, whatever it may be, people were constantly asking me questions. And I'll be really honest with you, man. Like, at first, I was the type of person at that time where I was kind of like being irked by it, man, kind of annoyed by it. And I was like, man, like go get your own. You know what I'm saying? Like, do it your way, man. Like,
nobody taught me.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. But I feel now in retrospect, man, I'm kind of like, man, that was kind of an ignorant way for me to carry myself, man. Like, I feel like people were coming at me for value and I wasn't giving it to them.
Yeah.
I had a chip on my shoulder, but that was the younger version of me, man.
Yeah.
That was the younger version that was feeling himself. Yeah, that's how the game goes, man. That's how life goes. So but luckily, man, I learned from that, and as I started to learn from that and I wanted to actually give people value, I was like, man, I want to have a consulting firm. So I started consulting different artists and helping them more on developing their brand and developing their business acumen, and just trying to make sure that they got everything on point, and to transcend into other things, man. Of course, I started doing seminars and speaking on different panels of public speaking, and now I'm kind of organizing seminars myself, inviting artists and producers or engineers and bloggers and DJs and other people that I know in the industry, having them on the panels with me, and just presenting them at different schools, universities, different venues, or whatever it may be. And that's kind of the route that I'm at right now. And I'm really trying to make that a bigger focus, man, going forward.
Yeah, that's a good thing, man. Like you said, just like everything else, people are not always taught to give, or often taught to keep it to yourself because you don't want something to get what's yours. But we're at a point where we're realizing, I think, more and more every day that it like, to me, I prefer that it is a competition. You and I are on a song together. I'm trying to have the better verse than you, but I don't want you to not have a good verse. You know what I mean? We're playing one-on-one and we're homies. I want to beat you, but I want to make you better as well. So I think having that mind state, and then we're also realizing, like, yo, we can actually benefit monetarily and just knowledge-wise by giving value. We receive value back like everything else. And I feel like it's such a crazy concept to a lot of people, especially the generation above me. Have you gone through any issues with people who basically have a problem with you giving this information now, kind of feeling like, they need to learn on their own, or you shouldn't be telling everybody, or, the 48 Laws of Power came out and my friend was like, yo, this book, man, and you got to read it and blah, 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 but don't tell a lot of people about it. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I get it. I get why you don't want people to read the book and do shady stuff against you, but it's like, yo, I'm passing it to people. I want them to know about the shady things that can happen to them. So I just want my people to grow. And then they extend their hand to you, and sometimes you give them all this value and they act like you didn't, they surpass you and they never look at you again. But you can't just... Don't waste time trying to pick out the ones who you shouldn't give value to. Just give value, and they're going to do what they can with it. And, it's less resistance even for yourself. Just give it. Just give it, and it'll come back. So I agree. Have you been through any issues with people having problems, though?
What I think really in general, man, like kind of when I was first starting out to even get into it, man, I just knew there was people. I haven't really had anybody personally like say like, man, don't do that or don't do this, because I'm honestly at the point, man, where like if anything is negative coming my way, dude, like I just don't listen. I don't care. Like I'm not concerned with it. It's just not really something for me, man. Like I'm super confident in who I am, what I am, and what I'm doing and what I have going forward. That any negative thoughts or opinions about what I'm doing just don't really, don't really take importance in my life, man. But I know in general there's people that are just not feeling that. They're not about that. But I think it's kind of funny, man, because I'm like, look, if you're so threatened to the point where you can't share what you have, then that says something about you, not about everybody else. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And I really believe that. Like, if you're really concerned with someone taking what you have and doing things how you do, it's just only going to reflect on you. And that really tells me you got to keep it moving, man, and keep going. Because trust me, man, I've had 1,000 people right now, especially, man, with different things I have going on as far as, the hip hop brand or the podcast brand or even my personal brand. Like people copy the swag, people copy the style, people copy the way I do things, and I see it. And if it's locally or people that I know outside of my hometown, like it just happens and you see it, and it's just so obvious sometimes.
Yes.
But I don't really try to focus on that, because at the end of the day, like there's really no ideas original. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the bottom fact. So I just keep it moving, man. I don't really concern myself too much with the negativity.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to touch on the basically biting. I think it's healthy to a certain extent to use others to format your ideas, but if your idea is not original at all, then it's not the right thing to do. If and I'll say this.
Exactly.
There's others like myself and you, my man Cookbook. He has his podcast, Really Though. Curtis King, he's doing the Artist 911s. People like us and so many others, Noah James and Lisa J. There's a lot of podcasts and just other venues where they're giving information and value, and it's actually coming in return. And then, like we're talking about, there's people who maybe they don't have real problems, but they still have the mind state, which is the problem. Why are you telling all these people all this? And it's like, yo, he was just telling you this the other day. He's only supposed to tell you and nobody else. Like, come on, man. And then they see that we're getting a return from it, and then they're even more upset. And it's like, hey, do you have something that you can help people with? Why don't you try helping it? Like they say with money, you give money and you'll get money. It'll come back. I give $1 or however much money to somebody on the street asking for dough sometimes just to give it to them. And sometimes it does come back to me. Like, I'll tell this quick story. One time, it's crazy too, because I read this book called The Celestine Prophecies. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a fiction, but it's an interesting book.
Nah.
It talks about energies and reading signs and symbolism and amongst other things. I don't want to give away the book, but so I finished the book. It took me like 2-3 days, audio book at work. I go to 7-Eleven to get some gas. This dude's asking for gas money. I'm in San Diego. He came about an hour and a half from San Bernardino to get with a girl. And now he's asked out, no gas. So I'm like, I ask him what happened. He's like, yeah, this girl. I was like, okay, man, I got you. I said, I'll give you like $10, which should get him there. And I just gave him, I ended up putting $20 on the gas, and I was gone before he even seen it. Right. So, at that time I was going through an interview process with a media site. I forgot the name of the website, and dude just wanted to pay me because we had worked together before, and it was just an interview, but he's like, yo, I just want to pay you. I'm gonna just give you $20. I wish I could give you more. I'm like, dog, we're doing an interview and you're paying me? Like, yeah, sure, dude. Of course.
Right.
$5. I mean, you don't gotta pay me, man. I just appreciate that you want to. He ends up getting, and so that happened that day as well. So the next day I get it in my bank account as $50. It's literally the exact same thing I did to the dude at the gas station. You know what I mean? I told him I was giving him 10. I gave him 20. Nothing crazy. This dude told me he was giving me 20, gave me 50.
Right.
sometimes you literally get that in front of your face, and it's like a sign to say you're on the right path. Like, keep going with that, you know? Interesting times for sure.
Yeah, man, it's real simple, man, and that's one thing that I learned, man. Especially, like I said, I've really gone through this growth process in the last few years, man. Where like I was a whole different person like 5 years ago. Like it's funny you mentioned like MySpace. Like if we would have like met around that time, like yeah, definitely I was an open person and networking and always building with people, but I was just a whole different person, man. Like if you would have had a podcast in the MySpace days and we would have did a podcast, like you would have been talking to a whole different dudes, you know what I'm saying? And I've just learned so much about myself and everything about, the world, man. Like, dude, it's so real. Like, and people really just don't understand it. Like, I've told people a million times, like, man, you give people something. Give them this, give them advice, give them the shirt off your back, literally, if you have to, like, just do it, man. And do it out of the kindness of your heart because you really feel it's genuine, not because you want something back. Yeah. And I was like, and watch your life change. And people are like, nah, that's crazy, man. Like, nah, this is what I got, and this is all I got, and it's for me. And it's like, all right, man, well, that's, you're going to get what you give off, man. And I'm a true believer in that because I've seen it for myself. I've seen it develop. I've seen it manifest, Yeah. So that's an actual fact right there.
Yeah, most def. And then I think another thing is like, man, providing simple information that's not even the most critical piece to someone's career. But for somebody like us, we may think that it's second nature. Like, if you call your friend and you're like, yo, what's going on? What you doing? They're not going to be like, oh, sitting down, breathing, inhaling oxygen while exhaling. You know what I'm saying? Like, because why you got to say that is obvious. Right. And there's a lot of things that we may feel, we in general may feel is so obvious that we don't need to tell somebody. But the truth is,
I agree.
Some people, they have no clue what like some of those things you were saying, people would ask you, like, how do you get on a show? How do I send an email to somebody? Like, some of these things, it is more than just send an email saying, yo, I want this. But at the same time, it's not the hardest thing in the world. And, one of the main things that this show exists for is to show people like, hey, man, like, don't be intimidated by these simple tasks because every task is a step and you're just taking a footstep over the next footstep and you're making it to a bigger place. And as you go, you gain confidence, you gain knowledge, you gain contacts, all these things that make the next step easier than the last. And before you know it, you turn around and you're like, wow, I came so far from sitting on the couch all day thinking of things, pretending like I had the best ideas in the world. Oh, you see somebody on TV, man, he took my idea. How does millionaire rapper take your idea, bruh? You know this cat? You know what I mean? Like, go out there and make action, actually get your ideas stolen, which will suck. But at the same time, you're on a level and platform where somebody actually sees you and you're walking in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Man, this is sounding real good. Let's go to a quick little break and we'll come back with some questions. Status Escalate Podcast. What's going on? It's your man KAHLEE, and I want to tell you about my sponsor, DeadStockCloset.com. Dead Stock Closet specializes in vintage gear and accessories of all styles and brands. Shop at DeadStockCloset.com and receive your purchase hand-cleaned, ironed, and ready to wear. Use the coupon code SEPodcast at checkout and get 10% off your purchase, plus an additional discount on your next one. DeadStockCloset.com. Vintage flyness straight to your doorstep. And for any artist looking to gain exposure, check out StatusEscalate.com. Status Escalate is a PR company who's spreading the word on new up-and-coming hip-hop artists for years. Go to the contact section at StatusEscalate.com to discuss a package and rates. Let them know you heard about them through our podcast and get 50% off your first project. And that's at StatusEscalate.com. And lastly, don't forget to check out 2Mex Hologram Radio at 2mexhologram.com. The 24-hour hip-hop radio channel with shows like Proof of Life Radio, The Friday Up, and more. Fresh and rare hip-hop 24 hours a day. Available on TuneIn Radio or stream it directly from 2mexhologram.com. 2Mex Hologram Radio. Everything is about to change. And now let's get back to the show.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
Status Escalate Podcast, we back. Me and my man Visual, we getting down, dude. It's a good conversation, man. I'm glad I got you on the phone. We were able to make this happen. So this is a portion of the show where basically we just go through some questions, man. And the questions are really designed to like enlighten listeners on ways to basically let the guests reach their goals and level of success so that they could implement it into their own business and really their lives in general. I mean, any information is meant to make people progress and make things easier on them. If I could save you an hour out of your day, that's an hour that you have to do more. If you want to put that hour towards work, are you getting more work done? If you want to put it towards your family life or whatever you got going. So that's what all these questions are basically about. Basically. I say it too much. All right. So the first question is, what are your daily rituals or routines?
Man, I don't want to say I have actual like rituals, or routines, man, because my life is pretty random, man. I got a pretty crazy life, you know what I'm saying, man? I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an artist. So, anybody that knows any of those things right there knows that individually those lives are crazy. So put them all together and you got a pretty crazy life on this end, man. Yeah. But I do have definite things that I do often that keep me, I guess in tune with myself and in tune with my goals. And that's definitely, man, eating good, which is something that I've done, the last 5 to 6 years, man. I've been a vegetarian going on 5 years in January. So I always eat properly, man. I'm very conscious of what I put into my body. And I also exercise often. I hit the gym at least 4 to 5 times a week. I also meditate, which is something that I practice, not really in a traditional sense, always of just sitting down and, lighting incense or whatever it may be. But it's kind of more of a mindfulness type thing, man, where I'm very mindful of what I'm doing currently at the moment, whether it be this podcast or as if I'm walking outside to my car and driving in my vehicle. I'm a little bit more in tune with things now, more than I ever was. And it's very helpful to me. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times, especially now with technology and so many distractions, where we're not really in tune with what we're actually doing at the current moment. And a lot of things get taken for granted, man, whether you're spending time with family over the holidays or you're at your job or, man, I've been in a studio with cats. They're just not really in tune with what's going on at the studio. We're creating and they're just not there. So those are definitely routines or habits that I have, man, that are constantly part of my life to keep me on point.
Yeah, we definitely have an autopilot. That thing when you're driving and you miss your exit because you were just driving home because your autopilot was taking you home. And it's like, yo, you miss a lot by being on autopilot. Yeah. Like those are called instincts. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you got to focus on the task at hand,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel you on those things.
Exactly.
Are there any particular exercises you might do, like as far as the meditation side of things or just anything in general? Visualizing your task or something?
Yeah, definitely, man. Like definitely visualizing I do a lot, man, especially if I'm doing something like going into the studio or going to, about to go on stage, about to speak, walking into a meeting or whatever. Like I found it to be so helpful, man. At first, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, it was kind of crazy. Like, yo, this is kind of goofy to me to be like, yo, I'm gonna picture myself like doing this great thing, and it was goofy to me, you know what I'm saying? But I realized, like, man, nah, it's not. It's actually like so helpful, man, because I really implemented into my life. Like, it could be the most simple thing, like, yo, I'm about to cook breakfast for my family, and it's about to be the most bomb breakfast I ever made. You know what I'm saying? Like, I actually picture it, and it happens because it allows me to be in sync with the actual action, and my mind is in sync with it, and then the outcome is just always great. And I think it's been the most helpful, man, on larger things, like I mentioned, like, hitting the stage, walking into the studio, walking into a meeting. I just prepare myself, and I really focus on what I'm doing, and I'm really in tune with it, man. And it's been great. It's definitely been great.
Yeah, I especially understand the idea that I now do things that in the past I would laugh at. And I could still laugh at it now because I see the humor in it.
Right.
But I also understand that you really have no reason to think that this is stupid aside from the fact that you were taught that this is some magic, you know what I mean? And magic's not real.
Exactly.
It's like, look at it like this. If you're somebody who those are the only reasons why, because unfortunately there are a lot of stupid little, reasons that keep us from doing things that could really change our lives, right? So at the very least, I like to rationalize it in a way for the non-believers to be like, hey, there's this guy at my job who really does not believe in having a positive attitude. He thinks it doesn't mean anything because he has that whole magic. What is it just going to do all this just because I'm thinking positive? I'm like, look at it like this, bro. You go into this store, you see this lady all the time, the salesperson. You always tell me about her. and you want to talk to her, but you don't. The one day she actually is about to talk to you, like that could have been the perfect moment, right? But you have a stank face, like you smell something bad, and you're just not in a good mood, and it turns her off. She says something, you give her a negative response. You know, there's no magic involved in this. This is just a literal, you know, translation of how negative energy negatively affects a situation. So if you want to look at it like that, then look at it like that and see how it changes your life. Then maybe it'll open your mind to the idea that, hey, you may be able to make things happen. You may be able to make things happen. Put yourself in a position where you're open to receive blessings or favor. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be from God either. If you don't believe in God, dude, it's all good. It doesn't mean that you don't have to approach things in a similar manner, you know? So, man, I really stand behind that big time. I hear you, man. That positive thinking, dude.
That's dope, man.
It's like a champagne glass pyramid at like a wedding or something. How you kind of focus on something and you pour the champagne in the top one and it overflows into the other glasses. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Do you have any life hacks to save time, money, make things easier for yourself?
Man, I don't know. I feel like my whole life is a hack. Everything I do is like, it's unbelievable to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be 100% with you, man. Like, I don't know, man. I just go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's really been the key, man, to a lot of things. I just go and I figure it out as I go. Right. There's been so many things that I've tried and I was just terrible at. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I think the whole thing is that I went and I did it. And that's kind of, I guess, my hack, man, that I feel like if you try something, you're going to figure it out. There's not necessarily anything that I could tell you directly that's going to make something easier for you or for somebody listening. But what has definitely been easier for me is actually doing things and trying them, rather than, you know, when I used to sit back and be kind of scared of what people were thinking, or be scared of what the outcome may be, or be scared of failing. That's when I was just not figuring nothing out. I was very unhappy. I was just, you know, I was a bad person, you know, because there was just bad things around me, bad things within me. But now, man, I'm like, dude, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to get it. It's going to happen, period. And that's my hack, man, to be 100% honest with you.
Just go out and do it, man. Because a lot of times people are just sitting there thinking about doing it. You know what I mean? And, you know, thinking about or even thinking about what you 5 years ago would have
doing
said.
That, man.
Yeah. People still spending years doing it.
Man, it's like I literally wasted so much time. I look back at life and I'm like, bro, you were a bum for these years. You were angry for these years. You were confused for these years. Like, what are you doing? So I'm no longer angry, confused, mad, or a bum. I'm not lazy and I'm not scared anymore, man. And I think those are the two things that changed my life, man, is I used to be lazy and I used to be scared. And I'm no longer scared or lazy, man. I'm willing to get up early, stay up late, go out and get it, go to a place I've never been to, meet people I've never met, you know, do everything that I need to do that feels right and aligns with my values and who I am. And that's really the only thing I look for, man. As long as it aligns with who I am and my values, man, I'm there. I'm going to get it.
Yeah, put yourself out there and allow the opportunities to come your way, and then decide whether or not those opportunities are for you. Don't just, you know, be intimidated. Be courageous.
Yes,
basically, be courageous. Don't be afraid of No. How about this? Be afraid of your goals, but do them motherfuckers anyways. That's what I feel. Keeping with the life hack thing, you know, can you tell me about the personal assistant that you use? Was it like is it an app or is it a company?
Yes, definitely, man. So, yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell you about a couple different apps that I use, man. Like, example, like when you called, so this number that I gave you is a number that I use for things like this, you know, interviews or any business related things, man. So it's eVoice, you know, which is something that I actually found through Entrepreneur on Fire, which I know you mentioned before, you know, when you had originally emailed me, man. I definitely followed JLD, like that dude. Dude, giant JLD's that dude, Kahleagues. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, that dude. So EO Fire's like, yo, you know, eVoice use, you know, code word fire and get 2 months free. I was like, man, I'm with that. Like, JLD's just giving me gifts all day. Like, you want to talk about giving? Like, that dude right there, man. That dude is a giver, like 1,000,000%. So yeah, man, he said eVoice 2 months free. So I was like, let me check it out, man. And I've been using eVoice, and it's dope, man, because you're able to customize like a greeting. So you could put in any music you want. You could put in like any type of, you could do your own personal message, or you could have like the computer like read text that you type in for a greeting. And you could also add different phone lines, man. Like, let's say I have, I got the podcast, I got the record label, and I got the consulting firm. Like, I could have a line for each one. And it's just a way to, kind of, set a different, tone for things happening for you, man, rather than giving everybody your personal information. Yes. And things of that nature, man. You're able to screen calls and then, separate your business from your personal. So I definitely use eVoice. Also, man, like Evernote, man, that's like my lifeline right there, man. Evernote, you can use it for apps. You can save documents, photos, images, anything that you have, man. So I literally have like all my rhymes in Evernote. Every song I've written is in Evernote. Different thoughts, ideas. If I have a certain, Facebook post or a tweet that I thought was really dope that I want to save, I save it directly into Evernote. And also Wunderlist is something that I use a lot too, man. Like Wunderlist is the truth because I'm just a list person, man. I like to make lists for myself and knock them out. And Wunderlist has definitely been a major key for me.
Okay, I'm gonna look at those. I hope we didn't ruin the top 3, but we'll get there and we'll see what happens. Good info. And as always, everything we talk about is gonna be in the notes section. My notes section is on point. I get it from cats like JLD, EO Fire, but I do it my own way.
Yes, sir.
I'm not paying for people to do it for me.
Yes, sir.
End up looking like a textbook just full of highlighting. It's like, hey. I mean, you basically just wrote down timestamps for the whole. Anyways, I'm clowning. Give me
that's crazy. He's super into it, though.
Oh yeah, his thing is on point. Give me an idea of daily obstacles that you go through and how you work through them. And I'd also like you to kind of talk about being a family man. Like myself and a lot of my contemporaries and my homies. How do you maintain and excel in your family and in your business?
Yeah, man, definitely, man. So, I mean, you mentioning family is definitely one of the biggest challenges that I go through, man, because I got to balance that with my lifestyle, man, and with my the way I make money, the way I'm able to live and survive and give to my family, Yeah. So it's very difficult. But it was more difficult at the beginning because I was kind of ignorant to many things and I was closed-minded to many things, man. Like, for example, I used to make the excuse of, I can't be healthy, I can't work out, and I can't eat right, man, because I got to take care of my kids, and I got to take my kids to school, and I got to do this, that, and the third. But then I was like, man, that's an excuse, you know what I'm saying? So what I started doing, man, is I joined a gym where they got a daycare, and I bring my kids with me, and they're hanging out at the little gym while I'm working out. You know what I'm saying? Or if in the morning I'm making breakfast and they eat meat and I don't, then guess what, man? I had to go buy a second pan so I could make my vegetarian breakfast and then I make their breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was really just all excuses, man. And I really feel like that's what has been the biggest way to overcome things for me is to really get out of having this mentality of having excuses and having obstacles set in your way and just look at those obstacles as just ways that you have to maneuver yourself and ways that you have to grow and you have to adjust rather than look at them as actual obstacles. Because, I mean, family is important, man. Anybody that has a family is a family, man. Even if you don't have kids or a wife, you know what I'm saying? Even if you're just, you live with, even, let's say you even have just roommates or something, like, that's your family. That's your people. That's the people you build with, the people you constantly, are grinding with or whatever it may be. You got to really have a tight-knit relationship, man, and you got to be conscious of what their wants are, their needs are, and how you fit into their life. But especially as a father and as a husband, man, like that's a major key. You got to really make sure that they're happy, and especially being an entrepreneur and artist, man, you got to realize that if that lifestyle is crazy for you, it's going to be even crazier for your family. Yeah. So do the things that best helps them get through it. And really, adjusting my schedule has been something that's been very helpful too. I used to prioritize work so much ahead of everything, and I realized, like, nah, man, you could do this anytime, man. Like, my workspace is mobile, man. If I got my phone, I'm working. If I got my laptop, I'm working. All I need is a Wi-Fi connection, man, or whatever it may be to get me online, and I'm good to go, man. So I'm able to adjust and sacrifice some sleep and definitely sacrifice free time or whatever it may be. Like, I don't really go out no more, man. I used to go out, drink, things like that, hang out with the homies and stuff, and I just do not do it no more, man. I really don't. And, even my wife to this day tells me, like, because, one thing I cut off in the most recent times is sports. Because I'm a major NFL head, man, and I have not watched football in 2 years. 2 years I haven't watched football. My wife's like, yo, it's Sunday. Like, why ain't you watching football? I was like, man, because I'd rather spend time with y'all than sit here yelling at the TV, being angry and mad because my player ain't getting no fantasy points. You know what I'm saying? Like that was crazy, man. I was like, I'm not enjoying it. Like, it wasn't enjoyable anymore, man. So I realized I had to take it out of my life. And now I get more done with my business, and I get more done with my family. And man, I'm much happier now, man.
Yeah, definitely. In case any listener is like, oh, he making it sound easy. Like, first of all, no, he's not. And it's like, it's not about is
no,
it easy.
Not at all.
It's about you can do it. People put stuff on your plate at work and you think you can't do it. If you're good at your job, or if you care, you're going to figure out a way to do it. And eventually you're going to be like, dang, at one point, I didn't even think this was possible. And now I got it under control, and I could even kind of half step and still get it done. Now they're going to bring more and put more on your plate. Now you're oh shit, now I really can't do this. No, give it some time. You're going to do that too. And when it comes to these things, man, I tend to, I think the easiest thing a lot of times is go back to these cliche sayings like, when there's a will, there's a way. And, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and all these things, man, they might be cliche, but those are things, if you lived by those cliche sayings,
they're real though, man.
Say it a different way if it makes you feel better. But I think ultimately, man, I had a great conversation with a buddy last night, like a good friend who runs a business, and he spends a lot of time on his business. And I'm just telling him, like, he's kind of making they're all valid reasons, but I call them excuses because he knows they don't have to be that way. And I'm like, dog, like, just only if you're lying to yourself. Like, I know what the truth is. You might believe what you're saying, but if you want to listen to yourself right now as if somebody else was saying it, you'd understand, like, oh, I'm just making up reasons why I don't have to try this. And I do that all the time. But it's about, like, not lying to yourself, dude. At least don't lie to yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's the worst. Don't make up reasons why you're not doing it. Think about the reasons. Those are the issues. Figure out how to solve the issues. Now start stepping towards those, resolutions and see what happens. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, exactly, man. And I really think, I think that's what it is, though, man. That's a fact. People are like, oh man, I can't do this, man. It's impossible. It's not possible with everything I got going on in my life already. Well, people don't realize you got to make a sacrifice, man. You really got to just, say, hey, I'm going to completely stop this, or I'm going to cut this down. Like, one thing, we were talking earlier about meditating and being mindful about my actions. And one thing I realized, man, like, there was times where I was mindfully, like, I'm at the club, like, with a drink in my hand, and I'm like, yo, I could be working on my business right now. Like, this drink is not worth it to me. It just really wasn't. And it really got to that point where I kind of just got disgusted with being out. I just got disgusted with it. I was like, nah, bro, this is not really bringing any value. I mean, and you go out, man, like people getting, into fights at the club, getting robbed, getting beat up. Like, I was like, dude, why am I around this? Like, seriously, why am I around this? It just doesn't make any sense to me, man. I throw events, man. And sometimes I don't even want to be in my own events, man, because I'm just like, bro, like, what's up with this right here, man? Like, is this really good for me? So I really started to be more conscious of how I can make it most valuable for me and everybody that attends. It's just, I don't want to waste time, man. Yeah. We just don't have time, bro. That's really what it comes down to, man. We do not have time, man. Time is not guaranteed. This could be the last interview I ever do with anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very conscious of that, Yeah. And that's important to me, man. I just don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Strong words for sure. Give me an example of a failure turned success, or even a success that turned out to be a failure in the end.
Oh my God. Wow. Music, definitely, man. Definitely music. I think that's really been a flip on both sides. It has been something that has been a failure, then a success, and it's also been something that's been a success and then a failure. From the beginning, man, I just love music, man. I love making music. I love writing. I love rap. I love producing. I love arranging songs. I love being in the studio. I still do to this day. But man, I've taken many, many losses with it, man. I mean, definitely tens of thousands of dollars have been lost and have never come back. And then tens of thousands of dollars have come back. You know what I'm saying? Different situations, different times in my life, different years, different months, different ways that it has happened. But it has definitely been music, man. I started from the beginning. I thought it was so great when I first started in like 99, 2000, putting out music. And this was like the CD era, man, where like I used to be able to go to all the local shops in my city and just drop off CDs, and they knew they were going to sell, man. So these people would pay me out, $100, $200, $300, whatever it was. And I thought I was doing it, and it was good times, man, because I was like, 19-year-old dude, 20-year-old dude doing it. And I was like, yo, I'm on top of the world right here, man, making a few $100s a week off music. I was happy. I was satisfied. But then that just wasn't there anymore after a few years, and things changed. The internet came, and I had to get on the internet game and figure that out. And I took tons of losses with that, man, because I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody knew what they were doing. Yeah. But at the same time, I got people like you that remember me from MySpace. Yeah. And to me, that means a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, yo, that means I was doing something. I was grinding it because, man, I'm going to be real with you, though. Like, the internet, like, really changed my life for the best, man, as far as music goes, because if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have toured France. Yeah. I wouldn't have been, working on music with cats from Greece, cats from Poland, cats from Germany. I would have never been invited to do different tours and different events and different shows. I wouldn't have had people that heard of me and knew who I was across the world. So it's been a major blessing, man. But yeah, man, it's been such a roller coaster ride for me.
Yeah, for everybody, I'm sure. And I think that's a good example, how you can't be content with the way things are going. If you want to, I keep going back to we climbing a mountain, and you do got to enjoy the view every once in a while. But if you stay there, looking for too long, your arms are going to get tired. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think you continue to work, and you see success through a particular strategy or tactic, or you're selling CDs and they're going off the shelves, you're making money, but you got to figure it's going to change. A curve is coming. You got to stay ahead of the curve. So you should always be working towards what the next thing is, in whatever business it is that you're doing, or else you may get caught and left behind. And if you're not first to hit the next best thing, or at least early on, then you're going to be late, and being late is very detrimental to your momentum, big time. So I hear you on that. How do you ensure action and execution rather than just an idea that never materializes?
I think, the way that I do that is once again, man, just being mindful of it. I've counted many losses, man, and I also count my blessings. And I realize 1,000 times over that when I haven't done things, I haven't actually tried to do them, I haven't actually jumped forward and made that call, sent that email out, sent that message out, met that person, asked that question, I failed. I didn't do what I wanted to do. I didn't get where I wanted to get. And that's really been the biggest difference for me, man, is realizing that I have to put things into action. I've had 1,000 ideas in my life, man, and probably 900 of them I haven't put into action. But the 100 that I have put into action, have really changed everything for me. And the 900 that I was afraid of or worried about or too lazy to do, I will never know. I'll never know if they'll be valuable to me or not. But I know that now, today, I don't have that problem anymore, man, because I'm not worried about that. And that's really been the biggest difference for me, man, is realizing that I have to put things into action.
Yeah, the idea of procrastinating so that you're putting this thing off that you're afraid of or intimidated by, or straight up is going to suck, like a surgery or something. But if you're going to do it, you might as well just knock that out. You know what I mean? Because the longer you wait, and moving on to the failure side of things, I understand being afraid of failure, but you must have the courage to go at it head on, like scientists who fail millions of times and then they cure cancer. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. And exactly. We need to teach ourselves to not be afraid to fail, but to also make sure that the failure, we're able to tweak the knobs and come up with the better approach the next time. Because I guarantee you, the same people scared to try some of these ideas are not afraid to try the same level, on some video game over and over again until they beat it. And life is a video game to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Every tough time in our lives is like a big boss at the end of a level. You know what I'm saying? eventually you go at that boss in enough different ways. You find the weakness, you find the chink in the armor or whatever the case is, and the way to approach it, and you beat that boss. And now you're on the next level. You know what I mean? And that level's probably going to be harder. Sometimes you got what I like to call bonus round. You know what I'm saying? It's smooth sailing, and things are coming your way, and you just and in life, people may not be hip to it the way we are, I guess, but when things are coming your way and things just happen to be, it's like you're gambling and you can't lose. Man, those are the times to literally double down. You got an idea you ain't been doing? Maybe now's the time to try it, man, because the stars are in your favor. However you want to look at it, man, give it a try. Even if you're not the type of person that believes in that thought process or the law of attraction or any of these things, give it a try anyways and see what happens, because I guarantee you'll be surprised, man.
Yeah, man. And then, just to go back on that really quick, man, I know you mentioned, sciences and then, getting things wrong and then coming up with the cure for cancer. I really feel like that's the same thing with a lot of us, man. Like, I found out a lot of my solutions through mistakes. You know what I'm saying? I made mistakes or I stumbled onto a solution just because I tried something out and the outcome that I was looking for was right there in front of me through something else. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like that's a major thing right there. The more you try to do things, you're going to end up stumbling onto a solution or a new way of doing things that you probably didn't know even existed.
Real talk. I mean, my understanding is that Post-it notes were created after failing at making a really good glue. You know what I mean? They're trying to make glue and they end up making what turned into to Post-it notes, to sticky notes. You know what I mean? It's like, I tell my son all the time, as artists, fortunately, I've never had problems with it. I've never lost like a whole hard drive of material that I didn't have saved somewhere else. You know what I mean? But man, our versions of that, whether we lose rhymes and we can only remember a couple bars, or we lose like sessions and we have to re-record it, or, the homies, I don't produce, but maybe my producer loses his beat and he recreates the beat, but it's not the same. How many times has that happened and your recreation is better than the last one? You know what I'm saying? My son's making a Lego palace and somehow it knocks over and breaks and he's pissed. I'm like, hey, man, daddy does this all the time. And every single time I redo it, it comes out better than the last one. So go ahead and make something better than the last one. You know what I mean? That's how I approach it. Do you have any rules? I guess you could call them rules before you decide to collaborate or work with somebody else, just in general, not just on music.
Yeah, definitely, man. I like to make sure that the person is definitely ready to work in a professional manner. I really I'm very on point about wasting time, man. I don't like to waste time, and I want to make sure that whoever I'm working with is not, there to waste time or just hang out and do things of that nature, man. Whether it's a studio session or a meeting, for someone that's looking for artist development or consulting or whatever it may be. If it's business, if it's music, if it's anything like that, man, I definitely like to make sure that everybody's on point with what they're doing. And, I do my research, man. I definitely look people up. I see what they're about. I get into whatever it is they're into, and then that proves something to me, man. When I see the work is there, when I see the steps are there, and they at least have the very basics down, that I'm ready to do it. But that's something that I definitely have to go through and to make sure, man, is doing my research and making sure that I'm not putting myself in a situation that I just don't want to be in. Because I've been in many of those situations where I'll tell somebody yes, 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 and I really wish it was no, 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 because I've wasted a lot of time and energy, and it's really killed my vibe, man. And to me, there's nothing worse than, like, let's say a studio session that you've been at and you're working with someone and you're just like, yo, why did I say yes to this person?
Mm-hmm.
That's been one of my worst nightmares, man. So I don't want to be in that situation ever again.
I hear you, man. It's discouraging at times, but there's always going to be some version of that. But I agree with the research side of things. As much research as you could do. We're in a time where you get a DM to your Twitter or whatever of somebody who's the next big, PR guy or the next big record label or the next big rapper or whatever it is. And it's like, how come I can't find anything about you except your Twitter, which you're hitting me up on right now, and your Facebook or something like. I get it. Yep. I guess I'm still of the opinion that you have to have a website. It doesn't need it. Maybe it's not the important way that it was back in the day, but at the same time, a base where I can go and see everything you have to offer. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I do some extensive,
Yes.
digging on people. So when I can't find something on you and you're telling me you're going to do this, this, and this for me, I'm like, I'm cross-referencing you between all these things you say you can do, and I'm not seeing any connections, sir. So,
Yes, sir.
I say good day, like Fez. But that's important, man, and that's a way to definitely to definitely cut down on those bad situations, man. So I agree as well. Can you give me I'm excited for this one. Can you give me a good recommendation for a book or an article or even like a movie that can helped you progress in whatever way and that can help our listeners?
Man, I have a few, man, and if you don't mind me
do a
going
bunch of
over a
them.
couple,
Yeah,
because
please.
I'm definitely very inspired by, other people's art and other people's, words of advice and film and books and music, man. So definitely a major key in my life is do a lot of studying, man. I do a lot of research and studying. So, I mean, for a couple films, for example, man, like they literally changed my life. And it's not necessarily like, business or music wise, but it's more like a health thing. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dying. That really changed my life, man. If you ever heard of it, it's a documentary. I believe it's on Netflix. I think that's where I found it. And it's really about this dude that, he was really fat, sick, and nearly dying. And he started juicing. So he got into this, juicing diet. He started juicing and he just realized it changed his life. And that's something that I kind of implemented into my lifestyle, man. And it literally changed my life. I became a vegetarian shortly after that. And it made me conscious of a lot of things. And also as far as eating goes, another documentary is Super Size Me, with this dude that does experiments on eating McDonald's every single day. And he sees the effects that it has on his health and how he's gaining weight, his blood pressure's going up, his blood sugar levels are skyrocketing, and everything is just going downhill for him. And then when he stops, everything goes back to normal. So that taught me a lot. And those are a couple films, man, more on the health tip. I say more on the business tip, man. I guess a couple books that have definitely inspired me and brought me into a place that I want to be at is Unlabeled by Mark Echo.
Yes.
Mark Echo is the owner, graffiti writer, owner of Echo Unlimited and Complex Media. And, his book is just so dope, man, because he talks about his process from when he started designing and how he was just designing out of his, parents' garage and making a couple jackets for the homies, and the homies all rocked them. And then he had a friend who was an R&B singer, and he was a big Bell Biv DeVoe fan at the time, him and his friend. And Bell Biv DeVoe had a concert, and he's like, man, let's make a jacket for them. And man, if they rock it, it'll be crazy.
Wait.
So he ends up
he couldn't even make it to the concert, so he had somebody else get the jacket to them, right? Like a sister or something like that.
Is that what it was? Yeah. I think that's what it was. Yeah, like it, or his homie that actually sings, I think, was at the concert, something like that.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is like everything just spirals upward after him giving this jacket to Bell Biv DeVoe, because they rocked it, they were feeling it, they wanted more, and then everything just turned crazy after that. So it's just dope to see that process, man, and to see that kind of going back to what I was talking about just jumping and doing things, man, and getting into it. And a couple other books too, man. Like I'm currently reading Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. A lot of people know Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich,
right,
which I kind of skimmed through. I haven't really read that, but right now I'm really into Outwitting the Devil, man. And basically, what this book is about is him. He's literally interviewing the devil and the devil and the way he thinks about people in the world, and it's a really crazy book, man. And it's something that he actually wrote when he was writing in the 30s, and his family didn't put the book out. He didn't want to put the book out because it was too controversial at the time. So that book was just most recently put out, I want to say like maybe a year or two ago.
Really?
And it's a really phenomenal book, man. It's a tripped out book, and I'm really digging that right now. I do a lot of reading, man. Like, I guess it really depends on how you want to implement things, man. But like Khalil Gibran is another person.
You can do audiobooks. I do a lot of audiobooks. I'm fortunate enough to be able to listen to them at work, so that's where I get a lot of my knowledge and my whatever I know and how I approach things. Yeah, man. That's dope. I'm gonna check out that Napoleon Hill one for sure because Think and Grow Richer.
Check that out.
Think and Grow. All right, so like The Art of War is like the main book that a lot of the Prince.
That's another book.
48 Laws and all these things get kind of are derivatives of The Art of War, just like marketing books are derivative of, let's say, Tipping Point. And in my opinion, Think and Grow Richer is a less mystical version of The Secret. in my opinion, because they act like there's this big secret, but the secret is just keep
I would
going.
agree.
Just keep going. That's the secret. Don't stop.
Exactly, man. And that's it. Just try it, do it, get it, figure it out as you go. And I agree with that, man. It's really definitely about that. So then, and that's the thing about Outwitted the Devil, man. That I feel like that book right there is it's really kind of showing you that, you know, it to me, from what I'm getting from it so far, I haven't finished it yet. I'm about maybe, I want to say 20 pages into the actual, because there's a bunch of stuff before it, you know, when he leads up to the point where he meets the devil. And I'm about 20 pages into the interview. And the interview is like about 200 pages, you know what I'm saying, which is crazy. So, you know, it's really about like us fighting ourselves, man, and having these obstacles that we set up, which, you know, we were talking about earlier. That's really what that book is about, and realizing that, they're kind of non-existent, man, once we remove them from ourselves. Like, if you have something that you put up in front of yourself, like, you are the one that has the power to remove it. And a lot of times we don't realize that, man. So, yeah, definitely a great book to get into.
Yo, so I'm watching, I think it's The Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway, I think. When she finds out that she's like a princess or something. I don't know. My son, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, all right, let's watch some real people on TV rather than just cartoons. So that came on. I was like, I think you can watch this. So I put it on, you know, and there's like a part where she finds out what's going on and her friend is really being a hater and she doesn't even know yet. She just knows she's acting differently. So she's talking all this shit because that's the type of person she is. And homegirl's in the back of the limo just like shedding tears. So after their driver drops them off at the school, he tells her something along the lines of, nobody can make you upset without your permission. Nobody can make you cry without your permission. Something like that. But I know it's hard. This was something I wanted to say earlier when you were talking about how things are a lot more simple. People need to understand the difference between hard and complicated because so many things are not complicated. They're very simple to understand and know what to do. And then we go back to that. It's not if, it's when. If you really want to do it, you figure out how to do it because it's not the hardest thing in the world or the most difficult or complex, but it is tough to do. But you just work at it. You're like Andy Dufresne, you know, letting out a little bit of dirt every day in the yard. You know, dig that hole and that day's going to come. Because what else are you doing? What else are you doing anyways? Dig that hole, you know? So I feel that, man.
Yes, sir.
We round in the end. This is the last question that I like to hit you with, or it ain't even really a question. It's my top three. Can you give me a one do, one don't, and one must have?
Oh, man, I do. Always do not waste time. I don't bullshit. You know, I move forward with it. I don't bullshit. And one thing I always gotta have is peace.
Yeah.
I gotta have peace in everything that I do. I gotta make sure that I'm happy with it and that everybody around me is happy with the outcomes and things that I do. And I like to take out any chaos and complexities from anything that I'm into.
Yes. Find your top three and keep it moving for real. Man, this is a great conversation, bro. And I did good. I pat myself on the back. I've been trying to stick to an hour. It's been tough, and as intrigued as I am, you know, and everything that we're talking about, I was able to stay on point. And, you know, that's something like I could have easily just approached it the way I have approached every other conversation, but I'm consistently trying to get better. I have my benchmark, and I'm working towards that, man. So I think people should do the same at whatever they, you know, want to improve on. Yeah, man. So great conversation, bro. I'd love for you to plug yourself, you know, let people know how they could contact you, how they could benefit from all the different things that you can provide for them. You know, maybe a few words about the money mantra, you know, when people can expect it. And, you know, if it's out by the time this episode drops, it'll definitely be in the show notes. And yeah, man, any events, anything you got going, man?
Yeah, for sure, man. So anybody that's trying to find me, man, you can definitely go to my website, iseeitall.com. It's a pretty basic site for now, man. There's a lot of things, a lot of updates that'll be coming to it soon that'll show you a little bit more of what I'm doing and what I have to offer anybody. And definitely social media, man. I'm pretty big on that. Twitter, Instagram are both at iseeitall. Snapchat, I see it all day. Facebook is /ISeeItAll. And, yeah, man, hit me up. Anybody that wants to get in tune with me, what I'm doing, definitely personally hit me up on that. And as far as my brands go, Hello Hip Hop is the consulting firm. If you guys need any help with that, artist development wise, or anything else in the industry or brand development, definitely contact us at hellohiphop.net. And just hit that hashtag Hello Hip Hop, and you'll find the follow with social media. And as far as the podcast Money Mantra, man, hit up mantramoney.com. That's up there right now with a link for you to add your email for notification once we launch. And I'm planning to launch that in January. Hopefully everything goes well. I got some interviews archived, and once we get ready to launch, man, I hope you tune in. And we definitely got to get you on there, Kahlee.
Love to, sir. Automatic.
Yes, sir.
Everything sounds great, dude. I'm looking forward to the new podcast. I'm looking forward to just everything that you got coming, man. It was a great episode. Very excited to put this one out, man.
Yes, sir.
That's what it is, man. I hope all the listeners know what's up, and check my man Visual out and see what he's got going, because I really feel like it's going to be something new to progress in your life in general, man, because just out of this little episode, I've gained a lot. So I hope that y'all could do the same, man. But that's what it is. That's what we do. Status Escalate Podcast. We out. Peace to the Kahleagues. Jewels on this episode for sure. Be fearless. Put your ideas into action. That's the overall message of this one. Big thanks to my guest, Caesar Visuals Amudio. Check him out on his upcoming podcast, Hello Hip Hop and Money Mantra. And be on the lookout for me on those shows as well as a guest. Be sure to check out the show notes at 310music.net. Just type in SEP10 in the search bar for all links and details of what we discussed in this episode, including some music links and how to find and contact our guests, plus his top 3. Please visit platformcollection.com for other great shows on the network, like the 2Mex Hologram Podcast, Really Though, Crappy Awesome, Orchestrated, Life on the Road with 60 East, my other show, Proof of Life Radio, and more, all on the Platform Collection Network. And don't forget to check out 2Mex Hologram Radio at 2mexhologram.com, the 24-hour hip-hop radio channel with shows like Proof of Life Radio, The Friday Up, and more. Fresh and rare hip-hop 24 hours a day, available on TuneIn Radio or streamed directly from 2mexhologram.com. 2Mex Hologram Radio. Everything's about to change. Also want to say thanks to our supporters, DeadStockCloset.com. Dead Stock Closet specializes in vintage gear and accessories of all styles and brands. Shop at DeadStockCloset.com and receive your purchase ironed, cleaned, and ready to wear. Use the coupon code SEPodcast at checkout and get 10% off your purchase, plus an additional discount on your next one. DeadStockCloset.com. Vintage flyness straight to your doorstep. And shouts out to StatusEscalate.com. Status Escalate is a PR company whose purpose is to create awareness for you as an artist and expand your brand. Status Escalate's been spreading the word on new up-and-coming artists for years with a strong focus on hip-hop. Go to the contact section at statusescalate.com to discuss a package and rates. Let them know you heard about them through this podcast and get 50% off your first purchase at statusescalate.com. And that's it for the bills, man. I'll catch you all in 2 weeks with a new guest and more info for you and your career. Thanks for subscribing, rating, reviewing, and showing love. Remember, you can plan for success, but you can't reach it without execution. Peace to the Kahleagues.
I put in work and watch my status escalate.
Qualified pro in this business of rap. Qualified pro in this business of rap.
Brought to you by PlatformCollection.com.